definitely goes chasing. I know that you've been working on Road to Cheltenham this week, and all the signs from Ruby were he jumps quite well. Hello and welcome along to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel in association with Racing TV. We're back for another video, and this video is a day late, but it's going to be bringing you a preview of Punchestown, Haydock, Ascot, all the good racing this weekend. So many interesting entries and races that we need to talk about. How are you doing?
I'm very good, yeah, no, a fantastic weekend last weekend at Cheltenham. It did take its toll on me, as I suspect people saw from the midnight tipper, going from midnight the first night till 4:40, and then I think 5:07 was clocked as the last one. So things got a little bit out of hand. The voice has been taking a while to recover, but we're back, and geez, this weekend's racing is quality.
This weekend's racing is so good. The 5 in the mornings, at what point is that going to catch up with you? Well, I think I'm there.
I think there's an argument to suggest that it has caught up with me, but I'm just kind of... I almost needed to prove to myself last weekend that I still have kind of juice left to squeeze.
Right.
And I do.
You do?
Just a bit.
Confirmed?
Confirmed.
Green tick. Confirmed. A couple of things to go through before we get onto Punchestown on Saturday. Wendrock ran, made his hurdling debut. I think this one for the Boodles. I think
definitely.
When I was talking about him, kind of in between, if he's going to be good enough for a triumph, he's not going to be good enough for a triumph, but it's a very eye-catching ride into third for Wendrock.
I thought the run was very suggestive of a horse that they quite like, but also not today.
Decent racing today, especially at Warwick, and we saw That's Nice win for Nicky Henderson under Nico de Boinville. Honky Tonk Highway, who had really, really good form going into it, bumper form. She didn't look the most straightforward, and That's Nice, who's actually making her hurdling debut and rules debut in this country, having won a point-to-point for Derek O'Connor, looked really professional and quite smart.
Yeah, she looked very smart, galloped to the line very nicely. It was a cheeky ride at that, which wasn't very appetising when you've backed the second. I must say, we were roaring at the second, but unfortunately she was far too good. The only thing I'd say is, listening to Nicky Henderson after the race, he didn't seem in any great rush to step her down in trip. I know some people were getting a bit jumpy about maybe being a mare's novice hurdle horse. I'd be holding fire.
Could be more of a stayer?
I'd say so in time, yes.
There we go. And then we do need to talk about, before the preview, the gallops morning at Newbury. Tuesday morning, Newbury host their Coral Gold Cup gallops. Nicky Henderson, Paul Nicholls, Dan Skelton, Ben Pauling, Ollie Murphy, Jamie Snowden, Harry Derham. Loads of top British trainers went and took some of their nicer horses to that meeting to have a good gallop round. And I suppose the highlight on many people's lists was Constitution Hill and Sir Gino working. Now, they were at the bottom of the straight. Constitution Hill latched on, looked like it was travelling. Then suddenly, Nico de Boinville had to get working a bit. So Gino, motionless, James Bowen was on him. How did you see it, and what's your assessment of this whole thing? Yeah,
I can see it from both sides of the fence, to be honest. Obviously, you were there, so you'd probably have a bit more of an in on what people were like and the general level of satisfaction on track. Obviously, Twitter's gone into complete meltdown about it. I can understand in terms of, there's obviously Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville know better. They know how to train a horse. I don't know how to train a horse. The horse has been off for a fairly long time. This, I suspect, is actually relatively indicative of a horse 10 days out from his next run. That being said, no matter what way you want to spin it, it was an underwhelming piece of work.
I think when it happened, I think there were a couple of people going, was that meant to happen like that?
Yeah.
And Twitter seemingly blew up. I wasn't really looking, but I was getting messages of people saying, has Constitution Hill retired? And I was kind of going, I thought they were jokes,
yeah,
but they were actually genuine questions. And I had Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville in front of me, who looked pretty satisfied with what had just happened. They knew that he was going to come on for it. They knew he needed it. And then I had my phone blowing up saying, is he retired? In my opinion, I just think he might be a horse who has had setbacks, has had issues, probably is going to need next weekend in the Fighting Fifth as well, although I doubt he's going to run against Mystical Power. I think he'll go to the Hatton's Grace. Looks like Lossiemouth and State Man are going to bump into each other here. Brighterdaysahead as well, so we're going to speak about those later. We don't want to ruin that too much. But he's not going to have to beat much next weekend, maybe a Brentford Hope and the likes of that. I thought it was a slight overreaction.
Yeah, no, I think it was an overreaction, but that's what Twitter's for these days, complete overreactions. Yeah, I can see that. I know they were satisfied. I suspect they were deep down in their hearts expecting a little bit more. That being said, if you look at things on face value, the only thing I took out of it mostly is this Sergino an absolute machine.
He could be very, very good, yeah. And you never know, if he is very good, that piece
you wouldn't
might
know.
Look, yeah, that piece might look okay. A few other interesting ones. Regent Stroll did a bit of work. Sauvignon worked with him. Colwell Potter was there. Captain Teague was there. I spoke to Ben Pauling about Royce, who you've mentioned on the channel before. He's going to run in a maiden hurdle. They were really chuffed with him the first day. I think he just blew up a bit and he needed the run. So Royce, although I did question him, is he just a bridle horse? He said he's not. There's going to be a bit more to come.
He certainly looked like that. I'm open to be proven wrong. The only thing I'd say about these Gallops mornings, I think they're good for the sport in terms of it brings people there, gives people an opportunity to see these horses work. But some of these, like at the races, put up a tweet saying, what a performance from Regent Stroll. Like, the poor horse in second could barely lift its legs.
True.
I could have worked well against that horse.
Very true, very true. But that's our general assessment of the Gallops morning. That's nice at Warwick, and as well Wendrock, possibly one for the Boodles. Now, before we get stuck into this, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and do get your comments down below. We're so close to 20,000 subscribers, and you can help. Send it to a friend, get your burner account out and subscribe. We desperately want to hit that, hopefully by the new year. We've got a matter of weeks to do so. It's possible, but we just need your help behind the camera. Any support on this video, likes, comments, or anything like that, then do let us know. And I've been really, really enjoying writing the weekly column that we do on Racing TV. It's always linked down in the description. There's going to be a competition for the person who answers the most questions throughout the season, which will be finishing on...
Well, I'd like to hope I'll answer the most questions.
Sorry, not ask. We'll ask the most questions. So if you're a regular asker, there will be prizes for you at the end of the season. So do go over and send us some comments down in this video that we'll answer in Tuesday's column. We look forward to reading them. But do like the video, any support is brilliant. Right, so let's get stuck into the racing this weekend. Looks absolutely brilliant. Saturday, Punchestown, Ballyburn's Chasing debut over 2 miles and 3 furlongs. A couple of things to talk about there. Definitely goes Chasing. I know that you've been working on Road to Cheltenham this week, and all the signs from Ruby were he jumps quite well.
Yeah, exactly. Look, there was a bit of kind of false fire almost again on Twitter last week. People thinking he was out, people thinking he wasn't schooling well. I was on a production call with Ruby yesterday before the Road to Cheltenham came out, and he'd schooled in the Curragh on Tuesday, and he said he jumped super. So he said there was absolutely no way he was going hurdling. He was always going chasing. This is the plan as a result, and it looks a very winnable race. You'd be surprised if he got beat.
It does. I've got to ask you a question, because we spoke about trip with Ballyburn, and you said if he comes out in a 2.5 mile beginner's chase, then I'll concede there's a chance he could run in a Brown Advisory. Not quite 2.5, but 2-3. But how do you think about that?
Well, now we're in a complete rock and a hard place. I don't know, because it's an odd one.
Is it a case where you're still kind of, you're 90% he'll go down a 2 mile route, but there is a chance he could go up in trip?
Of course there's a chance he could go up in trip. Look, it's just one of those. It's a hard one to know where he'll end up going, because in Willie's heart, he'd have wanted him to run in the Turners. He'd have been all over a 2 mile 4 horse, and that would have been the perfect place for him to go. He's going to have to scratch around. I suspect it depends how he jumps, how quickly he jumps. He quite likes horses if they jump well. I think he thought an Ergamine going into his novice chase campaign was going to go up in trip. Yeah. He jumped so well, back down to 2 miles. If he's a little bit ponderous, he might go up in trip. It's a hard one to kind of figure out in that respect. I'd be surprised if he didn't win this and then potentially run at Limerick at Christmas.
Fascinating. We are 2 weeks out from our first episode of the Anti-Post series. There's going to be 3 videos. One just after the Fighting Fifth and Hatton's Grace weekend. There's going to be one after Christmas, and then one after the Dublin Racing Festival. So the first episode is in 2 weeks' time. And I only mention that because Ballyburn, if he wins over 2-3, Impere Pass could be an Arkle horse. We might know by then all those different things that come into play.
Exactly. There's an awful lot of different things that have to be sorted out between then and now. And I feel, especially given the rains come both over here and in Ireland, by the end of this weekend and Hatton's Grace next weekend, we'll have an awful lot more questions answered at that stage, and at least form a picture of where horses might go.
Absolutely. I've got one I really fancy.
Please. Hit me.
Punchestown on Saturday. I think the Gordon Jigginstown horse will win the Florida Pearl.
That's very good of you. Yeah, no, I fancy that as well. I just think it's a rick, really.
Yeah. I just thought, just really screamed at me on the paper.
Yeah, it just for some reason, I don't know what it was, whether it was the silks, just that one silk just really, really resonated with me.
Yeah, that's the Florida Pearl on Saturday. 3 runners for Gordon Elliott and Jigginstown, and that's it.
This is ordinary stuff, though, because the Florida Pearl used to be a 2-mile 6 race, and it was an okay 2-mile 6 race at that. But, again, you talk to the experts about the game, they say you shouldn't really, especially as a novice, it's very difficult to be running a novice over 3 miles in a Grade 2 race at this time of the season. So it doesn't surprise me that nobody's running. It's obviously terrible luck for the game. It looks like it could be a complete fix as well, if you wanted it to be.
Well, you'd be looking at it going, whichever one wins, maybe going to graded company. Whichever one finished second, National Hunt Chase, and whichever one finished third, they're probably trying to get into a Kim Muir.
I tell you, I have the Kim Muir horse.
You've got the Kim Muir. Save
do.
it for next week.
I will.
Save it for next week.
I do genuinely have it, though.
Gordon's.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. I cannot wait. I'm going to be quizzing him after this. You can hear about it next week, or you can subscribe to LTR Plus, and you can hear about it in the week. The Morgiana comes next. What a race! What do we do to deserve this? State Man, Lossiemouth and Brighterdaysahead.
Good things do happen to poor people.
They do. It's fascinating. It really is fascinating. And although I can see that Brighterdaysahead probably isn't of the class of these two over 2 miles at Punchestown, she's had the run, which possibly puts her in it.
It does.
You've got State Man, Lossiemouth. Do you think Willie's just going, let's just find out. Let's just get it over with at the start of the season. If State Man goes and absolutely pumps Lossiemouth, she'll go up and trip.
Yeah, well, I just think it will give them a sighter. Look, I know some people are trying to put, cold water on the fire, saying that one of them will be taken out. I can guarantee you State Man won't be taken out.
No,
he will run no matter whether there's a snowstorm, he'll be running.
But it's been a relatively decent plan to run Mystical Power in the 2.5 mile Hatton's Grace, because I think Willie sees him as a possible stayers hurdle horse. He mentioned that in a couple of stable tours.
Yeah, no.
So if he runs there, these two will likely run.
Yeah, no, I think they will. And, Patrick's on Lossiemouth. I thought Danny would take the ride, considering I think he rode her to win a juvenile race around Ferry House a couple of years ago. But he takes the ride. Paul's on State Man. This is where it comes. This time every year we have my usual State Man rant, where I go on about how good he is.
No one appreciates him.
And nobody appreciates him. And everyone goes, come on, all of this sort of stuff. I think around Punchestown, he's got a rating of 169. I think in Ireland he's got... I suspect he's a 172, 173 horse. I think he'll punch Lossiemouth out of the ground at Punchestown.
Cannot wait to see it. It's going to be fascinating. I wouldn't really have an opinion at all.
No, I don't need to have a bet in the race. State Man's 4-6. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I just think if there's any course Lossiemouth could beat State Man, it's Cheltenham.
Yeah.
I don't think she'll be able to beat him in Ireland.
We're going back to Britain, and the big race of the weekend is at Haydock, and it's the Betfair Chase. We've been talking about one horse for this race 4 months. Absolutely bloody months.
It's a long-term plan.
Grey Dawning. This is his day, isn't it?
It has to be.
Royal Pagain there, a Hoyt-Muir, Hewick, Capodanno supplemented, which I thought was interesting considering they're running Limerick Lace in the same colours. They must not be that confident in her.
Yeah, well, I think she's going to be heading back to the National, though, is she not?
Very true. Brave Man's Game's in there at a big price. A few... obviously horses who might love Haydock in Royal Pagain, a few horses who were once very good, a few horses who always run very consistently in Hewick, but none of them right now have the ceiling of Grey Dawning.
No.
He could be the big British hope for 3 mile chases to come for the next couple of years.
He needs to be, yeah. Look, if he's going to be a Gold Cup horse, he has to win this race, in my eyes. I don't doubt that he won't be fit. I think he'll be ready to go for his life, to be honest. I think they'll have they'll have 2 or 3 targets throughout the year mapped out. This was always going to be one of them. It was whether they could get a prep run in or not. They didn't in the end. I know you've got some really honest kind of campaigners in there, as you say, Royal Pagain. The campaigning of a Hoyt-Muir leaves a fair bit to be desired, so I must say.
What I like about backing Grey Dawning in the Betfair Chase this weekend is...
You're going to back a winner.
I'm going to back a winner. And also, Dan Skelton is desperately, frantically chasing the championship.
Yeah.
He will know that winning a Gold Cup is so difficult. He's going to come up against Galopin Des Champs, he's going to come up against Fastorslow possibly. So many different horses that are going to be very, very, very tough to beat. This is a Grade 1 3-mile chase worth loads of money in Britain. He's never going to have an easier chance to win an open Grade 1 3-mile chase. He'll be ready. He will 100% be ready.
You'd like to assume.
He was ready to run into Charlie Hall 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Of course. I just cannot comprehend him turning up here and they'll come out and say, oh, he needed the run. Well, they might say, oh, he'll improve for it. Once they've won by 5 lengths and you go, come on, Dan.
Yeah.
Do us a favour.
He was electric in the graduation chase there last year as well. I think Harry Skelton's going to have ultimate confidence. He'll stay and I think he'll take a really, really good bit of beating. We're moving on to Sunday next and Punchestown throws up another absolute cracker in the John Durkan. To be fair, this race is always a cracker every single year, but it looks like Galopin Des Champs and Fastorslow, who had a good old tussle last year in the race, we'd appreciate it, are going to be joined by Factorfile, Spillan's Tower, Grange Clare West, good novices from last year. Yeah,
excellent race this. This is an absolute mouth-watering affair, should I say. Galopin Des Champs is the horse that does it for me. He just, I love him. I think he's the best horse of the lot of them overall. I won't need to have a bet in the race to be completely inspired by it. If I was, though, if you were to pin me against that wall and say you must back something, surely Fastorsslow's the bet here.
Possibly, yes. Such a good record around. Punchestown won the race last year. Galopin Des Champs not the bet because we know that he's going to massively come on for this. Doesn't particularly love Punchestown or right-handed. He's been beaten, I think, the last 3 times he's done that, hasn't
he? Yeah, but it's a good acid test, this, for Factorfile, because I'm going to have to eat my words. If this horse comes out and wins impressively, I'm in a whole heap of not so good stuff.
Do you think he will? What's going to catch him out? Is it speed? He's not short of that.
I think there's an element of just he has the speed. I think he's got potentially the ability. He just has to prove he's got the ability. On his novice form, he has to find pretty much 10 to 14 pounds to lie up with Fastorslow or Galopin Des Champs. I'm not saying it can't be done, but he has to prove he can do
it. Before we go on to a section called Others to Note, which long-term Let's Talk Racing viewers will know, which is back, I'm going to go through plenty of horses you need to watch out away from the big races. Do you want to also get your opinion on Ascot on Saturday with the likes of Blue King Daru against Golden Ace? I think he could be a really, really smart horse this year, only 5.
Yeah, no, he seems like he's been around forever and he's only 5. Yeah, no, he's the type of horse, I'm looking at that long walk hurdle that's going to happen a week before Christmas time. Genuinely, I could barely name you a runner.
I know.
Let alone a good one. I think Gordon was saying midweek that he might be running the Wall Park in it. That's kind of a bit of a twist on what's happened.
It is. I put out on the LTR Plus community section about a week ago that the Wall Park watch him very closely. Wink. He's been bought by a new owner that likes to win the Pertemps. That is the case. He's come out. He's been bought by JP McManus. I would suspect they will enter him in the long walk. They'll also get the mark and stuff like that. I would also suspect that even if he was to run in a couple of graded races between now and Cheltenham, he won't be possibly winning them, and there could be one big aim towards the end of the season that he's already qualified for.
Yeah, I do get that. I'm just saying, potentially with the long walk hurdle, considering Strong Leader seems to struggle going right-handed, he almost jumped into the car park at Ascot the last time he ran there. He mightn't be off a yard in the long walk, he still might win it. I don't think he was off at October.
He wasn't ready for that.
No, and he's still kind of bolted in. I think it's going to be an ordinary race. If Blue King Daru was to win on the weekend, he kind of probably puts himself into at least a frame for something like that. But then it's back down to, it's Crambo and there's a horse I'm going to put up in the best bets who's running in the fixed brush at Haydock. I think if he won that, he wouldn't be out of place in Grade 1.
Well, that race has produced Paisley Park.
Yeah.
Right, others to note. Now, I want your reactions as I quickly fire through other horses to note over the next week. The first one being tomorrow, or the day that this is uploaded at Ascot. What a race we've got. Celtic Dino versus Joyeuse versus Wade Out. Celtic Dino was so impressive on hurdles debut for Sam Thomas. Joyeuse, a full sister to Epton or half sister to Epton.
Yeah.
She was very, very good on her debut. Wade Out, Ollie Murphy. Ollie Murphy is the king. Seriously good horse. Won very well at Uttoxeter on hurdles debut.
Who do you think is going to win?
For some reason, I think the mare will win. Joyeuse.
Yeah, my only thing is I think Celtic Dino is probably the best best of them and the best of them at the moment.
He's got to give us £7 and all that.
He does, and I just feel that the only thing that would be in the back of my mind is Sam Thomas keeps going on about the Betfair hurdle. And like if it just keeps winning and winning and winning, it's not going to have any type of mark for a Betfair hurdle.
Wade Out, fascinating. Would want Wade Out to win, but would be fascinating.
Wade Out, I fear, won't have the pace for the other two.
I agree. I think he needs to go up and trip. Saturday, Punchestown in the 12 o'clock. Zillow, a €300,000 purchase for Willie Mullins, goes up against Sir Manzarek at Punchestown Festival. Bumper winner for Gordon Elliott and Rob Core. That's going to be fascinating. The 325, he's out. Jacks Hill, Gordon's chosen bumper one, the apparent champion bumper horse that we all need to be very excited about, is going to be making his bumper debut for Gordon. Looks an average enough race. I think the biggest challenge he's going to have could come in the form of a stablemate.
Yeah.
I think he's going to put on a bit of a show at the weekend. They absolutely love this horse.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
I, as a result, have reacted and have backed him again in a couple of doubles for Cheltenham in March. I think he's still 25 to 1 in places.
Very good.
I suspect he's going to be a good bit shorter after the weekend. Saturday at Haydock, Iroko, who's working back from the Grand National, is taking on Trelawn in the 2 mile 5 graduation chase at Grey Dawning one last year. You like Trelawn, don't you?
I do. I think he'll win on Saturday. Actually, it's just the type of race that he'll win. Just in terms of, I think Iroko, as you say, will have kind of bigger fish to fry. As for, I think they do believe Trelawn's a very, very good horse.
Back to Ascot this time. Saturday, Cloth of Utopia runs in the 12.25. You might be going, who's Cloth of Utopia? Same connections
Who
as...
is Cloth of Utopia?
A French horse trained by Noel George and Amanda Zetterman. He is owned by JP McManus. At the start of the season, there was lots of talk about Cloth of Utopia. I think they hold him in the highest regard, and they have even mentioned the likes of Supreme and Gallagher's behind the scenes when it comes to him. So I think he could be quite interesting this weekend just to watch. I think they're really hoping for a lot, and it's an ordinary enough race. Sunday, Utoctata, in the 12.15, we might have Horace's Pearl, the entry bumper winner, versus Lucinda Russell's Best Novice Hurdler, which is a horse called Darren Hassan Paddy, who won a bumper very impressively. The form looks decent. Horace's Pearl obviously won the entry bumper. That's going to be a proper race.
That'll be a good
It
race.
looks like a tap-in for Horace's Pearl, but it's not going to be.
It's not.
Darren Hassan Paddy's a good horse. Derry Hassan Paddy. At the 2.25, he talks to Shanna Bob, possibly makes his chasing debut in a novices handicap chase. That'll be fascinating. Monday at Kempton, the 1.30, Sagino chasing debut. I suspect it's not impossible that Constitution Hill doesn't run next weekend. I think he will, but I think we'll know by this weekend, because Sagino will either be declared, and that'll be that, or Iberica Law will be declared, and it could be switchy, all that jazz.
Yeah, well, don't deflate my balloon.
I'm not going to deflate.
You're deflating.
I'm not.
You're just going...
No. I think Constitution Hill will run, but it's Nicky Henderson we're talking about.
True.
Let's be completely real. There's a chance he might
there's
away
definitely a chance,
for the Christmas hurdle. I think we'll know by Sagino's declarations and if they keep Iberica Lord in, because they're not too sure. Thursday next weekend looks a really, really decent card at Thurles. I know there's going to be maybe a couple of videos out between then and now, but Il Atlantique, Tully Hill, Asian Master, Mr. Giff, and It's For Me in the beginner's chase, which is interesting. King of Kingsfield in there as well. In the 150, the maiden hurdle, Kilgame is entered, and Echoing Silence, a £410,000 buy for the Henry de Bromhead and Kenny Alexander team. Right. She looks very exciting. She's also in the Mares Maiden, along with a couple of interesting Willie Mullins new recruits. Let It Rain's entered 3 times over the next week, so do keep an eye on her. She's going to probably win and take high rank over hurdles, especially in the Mares Company this year. But that's it. That is other horses to note.
That was incredibly useful, I must confess.
There's all your times that you need to know. Now it's time for best bets. I want to get mine out of the way very quickly because I only got one. And that's in the 2.30 at Haydock, the fixed brush hurdle. And I'm going to back Zane Knights at 20 to 1 each way. One over course and distance in May has been ultra impressive and improving. A good third behind the Wool Park and Gower Road. Gower Road ran a great race at Cheltenham's November meeting. The Wool Park is developing into a graded contender. I think that he's going to have outstanding claims in the final in March. I think that Zane Knight remains well handicapped, and I do think this test will really suit. So Zane Knight to me at 20 each way.
Yeah, I can see that. He's a horse I liked, a horse I backed at October, and I thought he ran well, so I can get that. I've got 4, though. I've got 2 for the day this is going out on Friday, so I'm going to have to act a little bit faster on those, and then 2 for Saturday. 1 at Ascot in the 205, handicap chase at like Persian time for Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville, 9-1. Horses off 134, 2 from 3 around Ascot. Now, he's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde character. Sometimes he wakes out of the bed, he doesn't fancy it one bit, and other times he looks really progressive. Hopefully, it's one of those on the latter. He goes to Ascot, he sees good times, he feels good times and goes and does it. In the 307 at Tipperary, a good beginner's chase. I think Mirzur West will take an awful lot of beating. He's currently 2-1. Wouldn't surprise me if he goes off shorter than 2-1, to be honest. It's seemingly him, but against Westport Cove, be an awful lot of horses, the likes of Conyers Hill looking for handicap marks in behind. He kind of reminds me of like a Great Field. I feel over fences that he could be an absolute maniac, but he could actually take to them and just go out, bowl along in front. I've got 1 against you in the fixed brush in the 230 at Haydock. I'm going to back Kerry Hill, horse I really like for Ruth Jefferson. Won the River Dom by 10 lengths last year for Brian Hughes. He's off 137. He's been off since the River Dom, which is the only niggling thing in the back of my mind that he might need it. But he was the horse I was alluding to earlier. If he won a fixed brush of 137 and maybe won it well, looked like a well handicapped horse, and goes up to mid to late 140s, he's not out of place actually in that long walk hurdle, which is saying a lot for that long walk hurdle, but that's another fish to fry. And the 250 at Punchestown on a Saturday, really competitive 2 mile 4 handicap hurdle. I know an awful lot of the right faces were on a horse called Billy Lee Swagger at Cheltenham last week. He didn't end up going over. There were travel issues for Philip Rothwell, but he runs here off his Irish mark, which is 104. It's a very lenient mark of 104. Philip Rothwell banging in the winners as well. I think he'll go very well.
There we go. Our best bets, our horses to know, and a preview of the big racing this weekend. We do hope you've enjoyed. Please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Get us to 20,000 subscribers. And do get your column questions down below. We're not forgetting that. Do get them down below. We'll answer them in the column, and you will be in with the prize of winning something at the end of the season. Not sure yet, but we'll keep you up to date. We'll see you soon.